Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of our Conversations in 4Color video podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I hope you've been enjoying our regular Conversations in 4Color audio blog. And this is just a companion piece for certain issues that I think I should give a little bit more time for, and to actually get you all interested in listening to the actual audio podcast. That being said, I only talk about one individual comic book in this video podcast, so you will just get me ranting and raving about that individual book that I'm going to focus on. Now, it's a little special for me today because what I've been doing is I've been catching up on some Marvel comics title, which I have not religiously read for over 30 years. To be honest with you, the only thing I've really read of Marvel in the last 30 years has been the Marvel Zombie series, and I am a little bit behind on all the lingo and all the world of that. But that being said, that still doesn't stop me from picking up the occasional Marvel Comics title. In fact, the only Marvel Comics title I've been picking up other than the Marvel Zombie comics have been the ones that have centered around the former Dark Horse Comics titles of Predator and Aliens, of which one of them we are going to be talking about today, which is why I'm doing this video podcast. Now, the title I'm going to be doing today is one of the more recent Alien series, not one of your normal series, but it's one of the more recent ones, and that is Aliens, What If? Graphic novel. Now, this is a what if graphic novel in which it is what if Carter Burke had lived. Hence, it is kind of a spin-off from the Aliens movie itself. Now, that being said, normally with a what if series, and I was a huge fan of the what if series up in the 80s and 90s. It was always one of my favorite series to figure out how they could change Marvel events into unique in individual ways. I think the most they ever did was a part 1 and a part 2 of any story, but this series is actually a 5-part series, I believe. Is it 5? Yes, it is 5. It originally was released as 5 individual issues covering an individual story. Now, that in and of itself is already something that is a big deal, but I think it was more to capitalize on the Aliens IP that Marvel now owns. I don't know if they ever thought that the when they acquired 20th Century Fox, that became 20th Century Studios, that the property of Aliens as a comic book would be all that profitable. But they did know that, with Dark Horse, who steers towards some more adult stuff, I don't think they ever stopped making an Aliens, Predator, Prometheus, any adjacent series based on the property and IP. That being said, I have not been a big fan of a lot of the titles the Marvel Comics has put out since taking over the IP. I was, out of all the what if stories they could have done, I really wasn't interested in a Carter Burke story either, but I picked it up anyways because I'm still a huge Alien fan, and Xenomorph fan. So I picked it up anyways, and I read it, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much I actually did enjoy the story. Now, for me, as a former Marvel comic reader of 30 years ago, and read like everything that they did with What If, this was a very huge departure from kind of the story elements. It does not do a complete story redo or retread of a real story that was there. It more or less does a side story. Like, the way that this story is crafted could have been just a side story from the actual film series. It didn't change any of the major story elements at all. In fact, it starts off with Carter Burke from the movie being found out by Ripley and Hicks and the rest of the characters. And then in the movie, the last time we see Carter Burke has trapped himself in a room. They escape from the Xenomorphs, and we all think he gets killed by a Xenomorph that's right above him. That's where the movie ends, and we never see him again. In the book, he is more or less taken to be cocooned and fed and incubated for another alien, which is, to be honest with you, which we should have thought about anyways. So it also goes to the fact of he sees events from the film in which Ripley fights with the alien queen, the ship, and then of course when the events in Alien 3 in which Newt Hicks and Sigourney Weaver's Ripley are dropped onto the prison planet. Carter does that. We don't see the aliens like the story does in Alien 3. And in fact, for the most part, Carter thinks that there is no alien threat anymore. So it's still, it's not like redoing any of the original stories. It's just creating a side story that features Carter Burke, who then gets back to the real world with Weyland-Yutani, but he's been ostracized on a dead asteroid because they blame him for what happened on LV-426. They nuked it, they blew it up, and the company blames him, the world blames him, and he has been ostracized to an abandoned asteroid for mining purposes. All elements from the previous films. And then, of course, years later, his daughter is grown up. He's forced her to stay with him on the asteroid, but he's also decided to still look for the alien embryo egg sac. So he's sent out a android to go find one, and it takes him 35 years to find one and come back. So by the time the main story of this actually starts, Carter Burke is an old guy now, a much older and wiser guy, because he's stuck in a mining company atmosphere, trying to run this whole unit, despite the fact no one likes him and everyone blames him for this great disaster and everything else. Now, his ulterior motive is to find an egg sac in order to get the nutrients from the alien in order to help save his wife, who has been put in cryostasis since she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. But unfortunately for him, but fortunately for the rest of us, the alien, the face hugger, escapes from the egg, as we think, and it wreaks havoc on the asteroid. And then it ends up breeding or bringing into life another queen alien, which then lays eggs and creates even more drones, and it becomes an all-out battle royale, so to speak. There are some great callbacks to the original movie. Carter Burke ends up having the pulse rifle that Ripley had for the movie, who he's kept as a souvenir, and it plays very well into the last act of the story. The whole thing about this being just a part of an ongoing storyline is very interesting, but like I said, this never feels like a what-if story. It just feels like a side story that just veers off from the Aliens films and not the Aliens comic books, which have done their own thing. Anyone who has read the Aliens comic books through Dark Horse for the 30 plus years will realize that they've done all kinds of stuff that's different and out of continuity for what they've done. That would be the biggest thing of this being a what-if story. It's not in any of the continuity that's currently going on with the Marvel version of the Aliens franchise. That's about it. But other than that, it was a really well done series. The artwork was amazing. The story was pretty damn good. It was better than I think it was. But it was really, I guess, inspired to have a story about Carter Burke out of all this. They could have done so many different things with other characters, but they stuck with Carter Burke. And so that's what we have. So with that, if you like the Aliens franchise and you like what Marvel has been doing with the previous series, then you might enjoy this one. I'm not sure how much What If fans will enjoy this series or this graphic novel. It's an interesting read, but I do believe that this will appeal to more of the fans of the movies than it will just general fans. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed me ranting and raving about Aliens What If. It's an interesting title. It was only 5 issues originally, and the graphic novel was interesting. It's come and gone. Hopefully they won't do anything else with it. They'll just come up with another what if story surrounding it. But we do have this now, and it's only through the IP as Marvel is using that we could have had this story. So with that, I hope you enjoyed me talking about this title. Please make sure to check out the regular podcast, Conversations in 4Color, which is on our Patreon supported page only. So you do have to be a subscriber or a supporter in order to access the podcast. But trust me, you will be glad that you did, especially if you are a fan of comic books and you like hearing me talk about them. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to check out all of our previous video episodes as well as the audio one. And by all means, have a great day. I can't wait to give you another one.